Well, it is 7 o'clock. Hello, everyone. I'm Traci Skalberg. I'm with the Grand Island Public Schools Foundation. And you are engaged in workshop 3 of our 3-part series. We did 2 other workshops ahead of this, one on writing scholarship essays, and another one in conjunction with the Grand Island Senior High Counseling Office on acquiring scholarships. Those scholarship videos, we do record these Zooms and they are posted up on our website. And so I would invite you to, even if you missed some tonight, or if you have missed those other 2, go back and take a peek at them. Tonight, we're going to focus on our online scholarship application for the Grand Island Public Schools Foundation. We have a lot of scholarships to share with you, and I want to make sure that I introduce my partner in crime here is Candy Weimers. She is the scholarship guru. She actually is the one that wears the superhero cape when it comes to the application. And so if and when you have questions about the application, she is the one that you contact. But at any rate, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm just going to go through the slides. And if you have questions while we're plugging along here, go ahead and put them in the chat. And Mrs. Weimers will watch those for me to make sure that we're going to answer them. And then once we get all finished through the slides, and if your questions haven't been answered, we'll open it up just for questions at that point too, and you can open up your microphones at that point. So we're going to get started here. All right, so that didn't work. Trying to advance the slide, and it advanced before. Now it's not. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So we have a lot of scholarships. They are given by donors to the foundation. They include families, they include businesses, teachers, and staff who want to invest in our students. And you know, every scholarship has a story. And one of the things that is really important about that is you want to go back and read some of those stories, especially if they're asking you for a separate question on why they're giving that scholarship. So just to note that there's a lot of scholarships in the application, but everyone has a story. So we have one comprehensive application online, and it did open today. So those of you who have already gotten into it have seen a little bit of it. We're going to give you tips on how to answer those questions so that you can make sure that you get in the pile for as many scholarships as you qualify for. But really, who gets to fill out one application and gets in the pile for up to 160 scholarships? It's our kiddos at Grand Island Senior High that get to. So we're super excited to bring this program to you. We have about $460,000 available. Scholarships range from $250 all the way up to that real big one, which is the full ride to Northwestern University. We have scholarships for all kinds of degrees, all kinds of majors. You know, you could be going to a community college, or you could be going, you know, wanting to pursue a master's or doctorate degree. We have all kinds. 54% of our seniors who completed the application last year were awarded scholarships. So if you think about that, you have a 1 in 2 chance of acquiring something from the application. I realize it's comprehensive. It represents an entire file on you. And having had a senior go through this process last year myself, really this is probably the most comprehensive application that you'll see, but you also have the best chance in this application. So certainly do a good job. It's web-based, so this obviously you can access it anywhere. You can use a PC or Mac. we do not recommend using handheld devices because they just aren't conducive to the keyboard and all of that sort of thing. So do try to find a laptop or computer to work from. And you must have a valid email address in order to receive scholarship process emails. That is our way of communicating with you. And so if you give us an email, make sure it's one that you're going to check, because we sometimes are reaching out to you, and it's important because we might be reaching out to you telling you that you've been awarded money. So you definitely need to have a valid email. The review process. So the scholarship committee does not ever have access to your contact information. The beauty of doing an online program is that we can block different screens. And so, so they don't ever have access to information that identifies you. So in that light, we do not want you to use your name when you complete essays. Essay questions, as you know, you can write in anything in that blank. Please do not use your name. Because we are trying to preserve the pristine value of being able to really look at the whole student without knowing who they are. Grand Island is a decent sized community, but we all know, a lot of us know each other, right? And so it's so much easier when it really is, we don't, people don't understand exactly who the student is. It just makes it fair for everybody. And how you complete that application is really important. And if you ever get stuck or have a question about that, we're happy to help out, because we do know how those filters work in the application. And so it's always a good idea to ask the question. The application system is going to filter all the applications into the scholarship review piles, and the student qualifies for scholarships based on the questions, how they answer the questions. And so, really it's a math problem. In the application, it'll say this plus this plus this plus this equals identifying that student as qualified for the scholarship. So it could be that you have to have a 3.0 or better, you have to be involved in sports or an activity, and you have to have answered a certain essay question. And so those three things would pull you into the pile if they were true. And so that's how it's just important that you answer those questions truthfully and as comprehensively as possible. So each scholarship that we have, and remember there's like 160 of them, has a scholarship guideline. That guideline has the background for the scholarship. So that's that paragraph at the top. It has the amount and the terms of the scholarship, the number of scholarships that are given for that guideline, and the eligibility requirements. And so in this case, we're looking at the Emilio de Leon Memorial Scholarship. And this particular scholarship is approximately $800. It does vary based on the market. You must be a graduate of Grand Island Senior High. You must have a high school GPA of 3.0 or better, and you must have been involved in athletics. And then it asks a separate essay question. How have you overcome adversity and transformed this experience into, and now I can't read the rest of it on my screen. But at any rate, so if you met all that criteria and you answered the essay question, your application would then be in the review pile for the scholarship reviewers to review. And you have to realize that, probably maybe that's going to be 50 kids that qualify in that particular scholarship. Some scholarships is going to be 3 kids that qualify, depending upon what the eligibility requirements are. So, and then those guidelines also have the terms of payment in them. And so, all of our scholarships, you send us your information from your school, and then we disperse scholarships directly to your school. And that's on every single scholarship guideline. So the guidelines can be found at our website. They are printable PDFs if you want them. There are links embedded in the application also to find them. And so they are available online. So the application process. First, the student creates the application, you answer all the applicable questions, and then you send reference requests. And we're going to get into that in a little bit deeper in just a minute. Then you submit the application. Just want to help you understand how it processes through the online process. So the student submits the application. The application goes into review, and they are reviewed by teams. Every team has each person of that team reviews by themselves. So there's no, twisting anybody's arm. They score them, they review them, and that's all blind. They don't know who the kids are. So then we have what we call, it goes through the process of the application. So then application spits it out with a scored hierarchy. So however those reviewers reviewed that scholarship, there would be a list of students, and each scholarship application has a number. And so the student that got the most points then would be, of course, on top, and then they would come down the line. And so there's there'd be about maybe five finalists in the review pile. So that comes to the equity committee meeting. That committee meeting, every student is still, even the students in each pile are still all numbers. Nobody knows who the students are. And then the equity committee ensures the equitable distribution of scholarships. And what we mean by that is, so every year there are, maybe 2 or 3 kids that really, really do a powerhouse job on this, and they do every extra question that they qualify for. And, they just could come out with 25 scholarships. And instead of that, we definitely, that equity committee allows that student to get the top scholarship that they qualified for at the top of the list. So if that student got a $22,000 scholarship, then if they're in the top of the other piles, we just move to the next person in line, because really we want to give as many kids opportunities as we can. Now, can you earn multiple scholarships? Yes. We do have kind of a threshold where we, determine, sometimes it's 4,000 or 5,000 or whatever, but you can earn multiple scholarships if it's underneath that threshold. And so at any rate, we just want to ensure that one kid doesn't walk away with 25 scholarships and the rest of us are not getting some, because we value all of our kiddos. Okay, so the process, the scholarship offers are then sent. Students must sign and return the offer. And if the student no longer qualifies for the scholarship, the next alternate in line will be sent the scholarship offer. And so things happen, right? Students, you will be asked to rank your college choices in your application. And there are several scholarships that we administer that have a specific idea on when or what college that they want to send their scholarship to. And so, for example, if they wanted to send their scholarship to UNL and you had UNL in your list, and you were in the top of that pile, but then you decided to go to Doane, for example, when the offer comes and it says must attend UNL, you either have to decide that you're going to go to UNL and accept the scholarship, or that you do not qualify for the scholarship, and then you send it back to us. And then we go to the next person in line. And so there are always some, it's just one of those things. And maybe 3 or 4 that we kind of get hustled back through the list. But just, it's a matter of wanting to to just make sure that we do the right thing by our donors and the right thing by our kids. We don't want you to be in a situation where you um, are doing something under a different pretense than what was indicated. So that's how that works. So how do you start? You do go to our scholarship application at gipsfoundation.org, and you can see the address there, / what we do, scholarships, HTML. There's a button there in the orange. You click on that. I would bookmark that web page. It's going to come up like this. It's going to look like this purple here. And you would you need to create a new account if you haven't created an account already. I know there were about, I don't know, maybe a dozen that had already created an account today, and we just opened it today. So you create an account and set a password. So when you create an account, we would like you to use your email address as your username. It's just easy to remember, and so so use that. And then on your password, use something you're going to remember. We can reset your password, but just use something you're going to remember. Maybe you want to use something you always use. I mean, honestly, don't make it hard on yourself. We don't want you to create duplicate accounts though. So if you create an account and then you cannot remember what your password was, let us know. Email us. We can reset your password and you can get going again. You don't want to start over because it's just extra work. And not only that, but we do not want you to create duplicate accounts, because we have to pay for every account that is created as part of this system. And so we just want to keep our costs down so we can put more money, more dollars into scholarships, specifically back into kids' pockets, as opposed to paying for the infrastructure of the software. So again, if you forget your password, please reach out to us and we will reset it and get you going again. Okay, so in the application, you're going to see on the side of the application there are icons. These words here represent each page of the application. So contact information, education information, household information, those are all pages. If they have a green check beside them, it means that you have filled in every required spot on that page, and you've filled in anything that was not required. So everything on that page is done. It's a green check. All fields are complete. That is the green check. Now I know some kiddos really love green checks, but they're not necessary. You have to have green or yellow. Okay, so a yellow triangle means that there are some things in that particular sheet that you did not fill in. So it could be like, for example, there you can see on that screen that it says work experience and there's a yellow triangle by it. Well, okay, so maybe there's eight lines there and you've only had 2 jobs. Don't fill in the extra lines to say, not applicable or whatever. You don't have to make it go green. It's just that it's there and it's not required. Okay, so a yellow triangle means there's some optional fields that are not complete, but all the required ones are. Okay. The next thing is the red exclamation point. You cannot submit your application if you have a red exclamation point on any of these screens, okay? So that means there's something in that particular screen that you have not completed that is required. So make sure that you pay close attention to those red exclamation points. 2 important questions in this application. To get to the right application. Remember, we've got a very robust online application. We handle scholarships for In some cases, there are college kids that get into it, and in some cases, there are school kids from other school districts. So they're not always going to get the exact same application based on what they qualify for. So if you are a Grand Island Senior High senior or ombudsman or Success Academy, you are a Grand Island Public Schools kiddo, you must answer yes to, are you graduating from high school in December 2020 or spring 2021? So the answer is yes. And even if you're a junior and you're graduating, okay, so sometimes we get those questions where we have some juniors that are graduating and they want to fill out the application. The answer to that question is yes. And then you also, on the education information page, the next question is, will you receive your high school diploma from Grand Island Senior High, Ombudsman, or Success Academy? And again, the answer is yes if you go to Grand Island Senior High or any GIPS, Ombudsman, Success Academy. The answer is yes. Otherwise, you may get the wrong application, and then you won't be in the pile for all the scholarships you qualify for. So a couple of things we're going to go over that trip people up sometimes. And so we're not going to go over the entire application, but we're just going to go over a few things that trip people up. So household information. This screen, you're gonna be asked questions regarding your parents and their address and their contact information. Everything on this screen is required. So if you have a parent that is missing or you don't know, you just must enter in unknown or whatever the situation may be. There's a lot of situations out there. Just enter your situation, write it in, and those things have to be complete. Otherwise, you cannot proceed with the application. So it does trip people up a little bit, but it can be handled by whatever put in, and what you don't know, put unknown. Okay, and then free or reduced lunch benefits. If you answer yes, you qualify for free and reduced lunch for the school free and reduced lunch program. You will need to upload your benefit letter. Okay, so that we have directions in the application that tells you who to email. You email Carrie Price to get that letter if you don't have it, and she will send that to you via email, and then you can upload it to your application. If you do qualify for free and reduced lunch, you should upload your letter because we ask two financial questions in the application, and one of them is, do you qualify for free and reduced lunch? And the other question is an essay question, and it asks you what your financial plan is for attending college. So if there is a preference or something on a scholarship that gives preference to students who are on free and reduced lunch, you'll want to make sure that that's verified that you are. And if not, don't worry. If you don't qualify, there are still a lot of scholarships for you. So don't think that's a barrier to you at all. College plans. So I was talking a little bit about this earlier. Your college preference does matter. You can see here that we have preloaded this particular screen where we said the student is going to the University of Nebraska at Kearney. That's their preference. That would be number one. That's the school they want to go to the most, right? So, and if you had other colleges, you would put them in there. But if you know for sure where you're going, just put it in there. Don't put anything else in. But it does matter because some of our scholarships have, like, for example, they may say they want Nebraska college, or they may want a specific college. So it does matter. And then a lot of scholarships have specific major qualifications. So what we would ask you on this is to find a general major in the list. There are drop downs where you can, it says, what is your anticipated general major? We'll find something in the list that is probably in that family of majors, right? So if it's underwater basket weaving that you want to major in specifically, maybe that would fall in the College of Fine Arts. I'm not really sure, but figure it out, right, where it falls, and then put that in your general major, and then we have a box below that that says exactly what you're going to go into. So in this particular case, the general major was business, and the student is planning to go into business administration. And then they do the same thing for the minor. And so again, it's in the business family, and they are going into marketing. Okay, so it gives you the spot to be able to say specifically what it is, but it does matter because, for example, we have some scholarships that are looking at business, for example. So at any rate, do it, and if you don't know, it's not a big deal, right? I mean, you can put in there unknown or undeclared. That's also in the list. But if you have any inkling, put in what you think you might go into. Okay. So we have 3 essay questions on the application that are required. These personal essay questions, you have a personal narrative. We're gonna ask you, tell us about you, and again, don't use your name. And we're going to ask you what your personal and career goals are, and again, that financial plan. What is your financial plan for achieving the goal of going to college? So do not use your name in these essays. We have put embedded in the application, the GIPS Foundation writing rubric that just kind of gives you some tips on how to structure your writing, and using voice and all that. You're probably very familiar with rubrics. So just kind of gives you some ideas, but we've tried to give you 3 solid essays that have, real specific things in them, on, telling the reviewer who you are, what your goals are, and how you plan to achieve them. And so those are required essays. Now, we have another page that has additional scholarship essay questions, and those questions are related back to a specific scholarship. Now, does every scholarship have an additional question? No, 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 no. Maybe an extra 20 questions there on that list out of the 160. So there are some that have something else they want to know. But what we would ask you to do is, for heaven's sakes, don't fill out all those questions. Nobody qualifies for every single one of those. Read what the guidelines are, read the criteria, the eligibility criteria in them, and if you qualify, then fill out the essay. If you don't qualify, leave it blank. And this is one of those cases where you'd have a page that has the yellow triangle. It should never be green. We don't want you to put NA, doesn't apply to me, or whatever. Don't put that in there because it trips up the system a little bit. But answer every essay question that you qualify for. I got to tell you, I know it's extra work, but there are a lot of kids that would qualify for things that don't fill out those extra essays. And again, there's probably maybe 5 of them that would apply to you. There's not that much extra. So I do read over those and see what you can reasonably achieve, because the kids that do spend some time there do typically win some scholarships. So do take a look at that. References. I told you we were going to talk about this. So we require 2 references in the application. They are academic and general reference. And so the academic reference is somebody who has taught you recently, or is currently teaching you. And the general reference can be a teacher, but could be somebody else. They just have to be someone else that is willing and able to fill out the application, to do a reference on your behalf. So two things. First is, please ask them first before you enter their first, last name, and email address. Because once you save that part of the application, once you save that, that email will shoot an email out to that reference, and they'll get an email that says so and so just applied for a scholarship, list you as a reference, and then they get a link that they click into your application, and then they get a form that they fill out about you. So if you haven't asked them, it'll be a surprise to them, and it's probably better if you ask them first. Well, it is better if you ask them first, and ask them if they feel like they could give you a good reference. I mean, you know, you're not going to see what they write about you. You'll be able to navigate in the application. You'll be able to see the questions that are going to be asked, but you won't be able to see what they write about you once they have completed that that reference. You can't see it. And so again, they're going to receive a link in their email, and they're going to go to that link, and once they're done with the reference, that link will disappear for them too. So it populates into your online application, but it doesn't it doesn't stay with that reference forever, right? So just, you know, make sure you choose wisely and monitor it. So here's the next thing is, you are responsible to monitor your reference progress. So again, you check that page once you have asked your people to be references, and they've said yes, and you have their proper email address in there. Check that page, because you can see that on this one, it says, it looks like everything is correct here, and it says notified, right? So that means that the email link has gone out to your reference. They've been notified. By the way, it kicks an email out to them about every 3 days. So they will get reminded and reminded. So here's something that happened to someone. They put in there was a typo in the email address. So that is going to show failed. If you see this on your page, you need to figure out what happened. You know, where did you go wrong on the email? Because it's the email that failed. Okay, so you must correct it, and then resave the page, and then it'll kick out to the reference again once that's resaved. Okay, and then if it's complete, if it's happened, you can see it green here. It's completed. Now, you cannot submit your application until you have 2 references in there completed. And so make sure you monitor that. And again, let's talk about submitting the application. First of all, there is a save icon on the screens. And you can save the application and go back to it later. You want to make sure you save. It's not Google, so it doesn't automatically save for you. So just remember that, you know, it's like working in Microsoft. Okay, so you have to physically save it. It'll remind you if you move around, but you need to physically save it. And then also you have to, just because you think you're done and you've completed everything, doesn't mean that we have it. So you actually have to go up and click submit to submit the application. We won't know that you're done if you do not submit your application. But again, you cannot submit it if your references aren't in. So I would do that part of the application pretty early in the process, so you're not waiting for them. You know, you can take your time on the application, but do that part early on, because references, we can see when you send those out Okay, so the date we have the date the application closes is February 10th, and it's a hard date. The system shuts off. But guess what? We can go back in and look. If you sent your reference, if you were waiting for a reference to come in and it didn't come in, and it turned 12 a.m. on February 11th, and you didn't get your application submitted, well, we can see when you sent that reference. If you sent it at 8 o'clock that night or 10 o'clock that night, or I mean, there's just it's unfortunate. And honestly, kids do it every year. But I will tell you, you can just avoid it. It's just so easy to avoid. So please avoid that. Get your references in early and submit your application before the deadline. We do have initiative points. So if you submit your application by January 13th, so that is about 6 weeks, you will get 10 points on your application, and they just go down by 2 points every week until the application closes. And how do we use these? So sometimes students end up with the same score in the top, or in the top 5 for the each scholarship. And so initiative points are one of the things that we look at to break ties. We will look at, does one application have more initiative points than the next, and that represents then the hierarchy of how they're offered out. So initiative points can be important. They're not the whole world. If you are trying to get your application in by January 13th, and you've got 2 more additional essays to write, I would tell you, take the extra week and write the essays. So it's not the end of the world, but we do use them to break ties. So so January 13th, 10 points, January 20th, 8 points. If you are applying for the Northwestern, the Bob Hamlet Scholarship, that big one, your application has to be in, I think it's by the 20th, but I'll double check that. It's early on. Okay, so important application dates. Again, we open today, December 1st. February 10th, we close. It's a hard close, folks. If it closes at midnight, it closes at midnight. It's a hard close. So make sure you're done. Don't leave it till the last minute. And in late March, we're going to send out scholarship offers and ask the students to complete the form immediately. And in early April, we'll send out the second offer letters. So the ones that had to be turned back. Again, there's only a few usually that don't meet the criteria after it's all said and done. But those will go out. They shake out in early April. So if you have any questions now, I'd like to kind of open that up. If there are any questions, or were there anything coming through the chat, you can open your mic if you'd like to ask a question.
Hey, Tracy, I just have a question. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but CCC has been asking for ACT scores, and we still have not heard anything on what their ACT scores, and their application actually opened in October.
Okay. So ACT, did all students take the ACT in October?
Yes.
Okay. So you'll get them soon, but definitely before that January date. But yes, that is in the application. If that becomes an issue, we'll extend it a little bit. But yeah, that is in the application. So yeah, good question.
Okay.
Yeah. If it becomes an issue, we'll figure it out. You know, it'd be an issue for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Lori, just so you know, this is Cheryl Priester. Anthony got his scores, and we got them, I'm going to say 2-3 weeks ago. We got an email, and I logged onto the website and got his scores. Just
How did you get the email? Because we've gone onto the website and it asked for like a code, and we weren't given or he wasn't given a code on the test date.
When I first signed him up for the ACT, so we did it twice already. We did the one through the school, and then that next Saturday he took it again. And so I had set up through that same website and set up a username and password and had my email logged in there. And so for both of those test scores, I got emails. And
See, in the high school registered all the kids.
Yep.
So we didn't register the kids.
What?
So we didn't set up a username or a password. And when he goes in, it's asking for like the test ID.
Okay. I had gone in with that same company that they registered the kids. I went in through that same company, and I went ahead and set up a username and password to access.
Okay. But you have yours that they took at the high school already?
Yep, I sure do. Got it a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So I will find out what I can, Lori, and I'll send you everything I have on it. And I'm grabbing a pen. What is your email? I'll just forward it to you.
It's lkoch@gips.org.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yep.
We were like really fretting about it because I'm like, I don't know. How are we supposed to complete the applications?
No problem, Lori. I'll get it forwarded to you yet tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So are there any other questions about the application? Or I did want to mention too that Mrs. Weimer's will, I think, have some, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Candy, but we'll have some times where you could sign up for a little Zoom with her if you have some specific questions, but you get in the application and you have some specific questions about how things will flow through, because everybody's situation is different. And so, you know, because we understand how the filters work, sometimes it's just good to troubleshoot it with us. So she'll have some times that you can log in and work with her on if you want to. Anything else? Okay.
Okay, I have one more question. Sorry, I was not able to attend the last meeting. You said is it up on your website or the GIPS website?
No, it's up on ours, and it is it's under the scholarship tab, and then the scholarship workshops. And so we have both of the ones that were done just before this, and then this one will go up as well on in a few days. And we will also be putting the Spanish translations up too once we get them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, if there aren't any questions, we're happy to help. Again, you know, don't wait till the last minute. You know, where you're going into a holiday break, use that time to, you know, just get into the application and you know, answer a bunch of questions. A lot of it's stuff that you know, and it's not that hard, and you know, it's just questions you got to answer. So you know, just encourage you to get going on it. It is comprehensive, but it'll be well worth your time. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you for to the GISH counselors and admin team for helping us get the word out about the events, about the workshops, and just being great partners in our scholarship application. And again, let us know if you have issues or questions. Go to our website, look at, there's a bunch of help tips on there, and you know, we're happy to help, and good luck. All right, thank you.